From TPN at Technophilespodcast.com, for Jamon Stark, I'm David Geisler, and this is the Tabletop Test Shop.
Apart from the two-player thing, and normally I pride myself on being the critical guy who can really tear something down, and so I consider that twice the amount of a compliment for this game because I can't find those weaknesses.
On this episode, the cast hangs out with Andrew Hegge to talk about their experience with the strategy resource game Alien Frontiers. Do they have what it takes to become the ultimate deep space colonist? Let's find out on the Tabletop Test Shop's second episode.
Welcome back to the Test Shop. I'm your host, Jamon. I'm joined by my wonderful co-hosts, Dylan and Eli. Both of you just say hi.
Hello.
Perfect. And we're also joined today by Andrew, who's a, semi-regular with TPN.
Yeah.
You kind of used to be more regular, now you just kind of come and go on the...
I do the branching dialogues thing. Mostly regular, but near the end there, everyone got a little busy, and I had to take a little bit of time off to get some family things.
Family's important.
But hoping to be a little bit more regular now that we're into a new season, a new year.
And of course, a regular on our show.
I would love that. Yeah, no, this was a blast. So
awesome.
Love to be back.
Now, I understand that you're also doing some streaming on Twitch.
Yep. I do a sort of eclectic. I consider myself a gaming ambassador. I play a bunch of games on a bunch of consoles and PC. I don't discriminate.
Such as?
Well, most recently, I've been doing a lot of adventure games lately because a lot of good ones came out last year. And they're kind of like the LucasArts, Day of the Tentacle are really where I cut my teeth. I just did Life is Strange and Tales from the Borderlands. Both.
Tales from the Borderlands is amazing.
Both of them are amazing. I actually give my Game of the Year vote goes to Life is Strange, though.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, we're not on branching dialogues, otherwise we'd have a huge conversation going right now. Maybe another time.
Right.
But for right now, I'm actually going to throw it back over to Eli. Now, Eli, today, what is our game that we are reviewing?
So I brought Alien Frontiers. I brought this game because it's one of my favorites. It is a worker placement resource management type game, which are my favorite kinds of games, which is why I decided to bring it today. And it's a good example of those kinds of games, I thought it would be a good game to bring for my first game. All right, so in this game, we have colonies that you'll be placing on a planet, and you start with 6 colonies. The first person to put all 6 colonies on the board, the game is over. And then from there, you add up all the victory points, and whoever has the most victory points wins. You gain victory points by placing these colonies on planet. Also gain victory points from being the majority on that planet, or in a certain section of the planet. We also have these dice, and these are your ships. And you use your ships you roll at the beginning of your turn. You place them in different orbital facilities to gather resources. The resources we have are ore and fuel. And you use the ore and fuel to purchase ships, to build colonies, and that's how you get the colonies out. That's how you get more ships. You start with 3 ships, and you gain more throughout the game. We also have these alien tech cards, and these help you with special abilities. You can either pay whatever you need to pay to use the ability, and you can use it every turn, or you can discard it, and you're done using that card for the rest of the game. In each section on the planet, if you're the majority, if you have more colonies on that section than anyone else, you get to use the special abilities that come with that section. So how you score the game is you have the score card right here, and you have each, according to your color, you have a little rocket ship. You start it at 0, and whenever you place a colony on the planet, you gain 1 point for initially placing it, and then if you have the majority in that section, you gain another point. So now if you're the majority on a section, and someone else places a colony on that same section, and you are no longer the majority, you lose a point. And so it's never really it's more of a snapshot at the end of the game. It's never a cumulative type of scoring. It goes up and down throughout the game. It fluctuates. So that's how the scoring goes. All right, so this is the game board. This is the planet that you're colonizing. The colonies go on each of these sections here. And obviously each section has different abilities that you gain if you're the majority colony on that section. Then we have these orbital facilities throughout the outside. And this is where you can build ships, you can make the colonies to put on the board, you can gain resources over here, you can steal from other people, and gain the alien artifact cards over here. All right, so once all 6 colonies, or whoever has their 6 colonies on the board first, the game is over. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're win, but whoever has the most victory points at that moment, which is shown by this little rocket, then they are declared the winner.
Well, thank you for that, Eli. And now I think we need to dive into a discussion particularly of, did we like this game? Eli, we know you liked it since you brought it forward, so why don't we begin with our guest. Andrew, what did you think?
I loved it. This was exactly my bag, too. The layers of decision-making, I think, go even above something like Catan or Settlers, and I really enjoyed that. There aren't really dead terms with these games like in some other resource management games. It's you're always making a decision. If you're getting really skillful about it, you're thinking out a couple turns ahead, but everyone's making their decisions too, and they're kind of messing up your avenues of play as you're going. And I like this sort of direct and indirect relationship between all the players on the board and yourself, and I really enjoyed that. So I really liked it. 10 out of 10 would play again. 10 out of 10.
So now, Dylan, I know that your sort of cup of tea is not necessarily the resource management games, but
Well,
I'm sorry. I was watching you. You seem to be enjoying yourself.
Yeah.
So I'm making assumptions.
So I mean, it's not what I originally cut my teeth on, the resource management games. I came to resource management a little late. I didn't start playing until college, but I love them as well. And I love this game. This is a really good game. It's very intricate. A lot of, like you said, a lot of planning involved, a lot of thought process. You have to constantly fight against the other people, especially when they
it out for you.
Make choices that are in poor strategic.
And so moving
taste.
on from that, because I wasn't cutthroat. I know what you mean,
Mr. Raider.
but I'm with you. I
it's
completely
perfect,
agree.
yeah.
It's I love the fact that Catan I like, but there's always so much RNG to that game that I'm not really having as much fun strategically. This game, it was there were turns where I was mathematically, I was doing a beautiful mind movement on the board and trying to figure stuff out. And it was, I agree. It was excellent. But now we know that at this point, for those of you who are watching and maybe you want to play it yourself and don't want anything more beyond just we liked it, let's go through this sort of step by step and piece by piece. Now, going into the game, Dylan, we'll start with you.
Okay.
Did you feel the same way going in? Because for me, I will say this: it was a resource management game. I really wanted to play it, but I was also it's a resource management game. So, what was it like for you initially?
Well, so I played Catan. That was my first resource management game, and I looked at this one. And I'm like, oh, it's another Catan. It's got maybe some differences or something like that. So that was my original thought going in. I thought it was going to be kind of like a Catan clone myself. But
okay.
Do you want me to?
No,
okay.
Go deeper.
I guess and you could tell quickly, just after the first few rounds of play, that like you said, the RNG is gone because you're making decisions every time rather than, oh gosh, I hope this rolls right.
Which is kind of there, but not in the same way.
No matter what you roll, though, you still have a sort of a best play or a play you can make. Exactly. So
there's no dead plays like in Catan where the dice don't come up in your favor.
You just move on, you pass, and that's it.
Yeah. So that is the real benefit, the real difference between this and Catan as far as a resource management style game is that there's never any. You don't have any time to take a breath. You're always like, oh man, what's my next move gonna be? So that's the benefit for me in this game.
When you do have that power play turn where you just do everything and you're just sitting there like, don't ruin it, don't ruin it.
Or those moments where you're just sitting there waiting to make sure that you're not getting raided.
Who would do that? Who would raid that?
But yeah, I mean, so So going back to you, Andrew, so now kind of pushing in on that a little bit more. So we're getting into the beginning of the game, and we're sort of playing through. What were your strategies like at first? Like, how were you playing? Were you going mostly towards resource management or building colonies or being aggressive against everybody constantly?
No, that didn't happen until mid-game. Don't get ahead of me. No. Early on, I was still, like, there was like 2 turns there where I was figuring out the game, but immediately I was like, I need more dice, so I went towards shipbuilding like immediately. It's like I took those first like two turns to just go like, I need more ships. From there, and as I was like getting the ships, I was kind of watching everyone else playing the game and seeing how they were playing and focusing in. So like I liked that too, because you can go about it a couple different ways. Like from that intro on me, I'm like, I'm gonna, I have never played this game before. Last time I played Settlers was 5 years ago, 6 years ago. So I was a little bit out of my element. And so I just kind of sat there, learned, kind of by watching. And then I'm like, I'm going to get a bunch of ships. And then from there, I kind of like knew my play.
Yeah. And I noticed very quickly that like building ships early on was extremely important because Eli, you kind of got left in the dust.
Yeah. And I played this before, so I knew that I wanted to build ships right away. And every single turn, every roll, I never rolled any doubles and never got any ships.
And then when you got your doubles, we had all 3 spots.
Yeah. And we're monopolizing that.
Well, I didn't have resources because someone stole them all.
I don't know who that could have
been. It just was not in my favor in the beginning. And I just never really caught up.
Now, do you think, because, I was noticing that strategically, it seemed like after you explained the rules to us, it seemed like strategically it was pretty easy to kind of pick up and move along. When you were watching us play, so how did you feel about our strategies?
So that's interesting because I've never played with people who were so aggressive in the Raiders department. So
just a bunch of kind people you were playing.
They were way nicer.
Yeah. So that was different for me, definitely.
Okay.
And it made me play different because I'm like, well, now I got to raid too. Like, I can't just be left out of that.
Did that throw you off then strategically initially, or
initially?
Did you...
Yeah, it did.
Okay.
Because
getting the Raiders, it's I think it's very well balanced. That you got to get that straight, and the way you kind of take over that spot on like other spots. Like I really enjoyed that. But it's like you can kind of go that aggressive Raiders route because if you're not yourself monopolizing resources, you have that out to like, I'm gonna kind of benefit from other people's hard work, and I really enjoyed it.
And the thing is when we first played, before we did this, as far as my expectations, I did not expect it was going to be as competitive as it was.
Well, that was.
But like as we played,
really
holy competitiveness.
Well, because I remember you asking me too, like if you were making comments about it being really cutthroat and competitive. It's like, no, it's not really. That's because I hadn't played with people that were that,
soulless.
I mean,
and this was honestly for
decisive.
This is also for the show, the first really truly competitive game that we're playing. So we showed our colors, and I don't think anyone's ever going to trust me again.
I don't know. I don't know. You guys brought me in here, and maybe that was like a factor because you guys are so nice, and I came in here. I'm like, I'm gonna be the Raider, and I like threw down the gauntlet, and then I wasn't even the first one to make the Raider play either. But it got everyone in that like, okay,
no, that was Dylan.
Was I the first?
Yeah, you were.
Okay.
I think it was
you, Jamon.
Yeah, you stole all my resources.
Yeah, you
stole. Was it me?
Yeah, because you stole from. Yeah. Look at that.
Well, we'll discuss that after our break. Actually, we are going to take a really quick break right now. We'll be coming back in just a moment, and we'll actually discuss sort of the end game and how things started playing out towards the end there. And then we'll cut to Eli and see if you have some questions for us. Awesome. Welcome back to the Test Shop. I'm your host, Jamon. We are still joined with Dylan.
Hey.
Eli, and our wonderful guest, Andrew.
Ahoy.
And so now we're going to get into a discussion of sort of the end game and, of course, my victory, which I gained with the help of Eli.
There was collusion.
Your victory's my victory.
Yeah. I mean, look, as far as I'm concerned, it may be competitive, but I get it. When you're behind, you choose the victor.
Yeah. Oh, cartel behavior.
Who was the person who could have been victor if you hadn't assisted me?
I certainly believe it was myself.
Yeah. So basically, we stole it from you. So how do you feel about that?
Well, some people choose to play the game a certain way, and some people choose to play it right. And
That is quite a shot.
People are still playing that Raider space.
So playing it right. How do you feel that things change? Where do you think is the moment that sort of you began thinking more in endgame thoughts as opposed to... I kind of know where it was, but I want to get your thoughts on it first.
So for me, like my goal was to build up as many ships as possible, similar to Andrew. And once I got my 6 ships, plus in the middle you can get this 7th ship. Mm-hmm. Once that happened, I knew it was going to be very quick for me to get colonies. So that's when I started just dropping them, And I made a few tactical errors, but up until like the last turn, I made that the round right before the last round. I played my hand too soon because I thought I already had played my 6th colony.
That happened to me, right? Like there was a point where I was switching over to strategy too, and I just did it like 2 turns before anyone else was ready for it, and that was the moment I knew I lost the game.
Yeah, I kind of felt like the end game began when it was a little bit before you made that move. Yeah. I could almost feel the shift. Like it was all of us were in that. Oh, we better figure out. We already knew, like, okay, we can play our last one soon. We have to figure out if I play this now, am I going to have the victory points or am I giving the game to somebody else?
Yeah.
Like, once things started thinking in those terms, that's when I knew, all right, I'm playing for a different game now. Mm-hmm. Which was great because it's like a lot of games don't always have a built-in feeling of that or mechanic.
That natural tension that builds in this game, that extra layer of emotions that... I don't see that in a lot of board games like this. You don't get that emotional aspect or that natural tension that happens in like storytelling or a good video game or a movie.
And for you, Eli, has it always been that way with this game? Is there always that feeling of tension near the end, or you kind of feel like I gotta ship my strategies?
Yeah. I always feel that way. Like I said, this game was more so than any other game I've played. And a lot of times that I've played it, I've only ever played it with one other person. And a 2-player game is way different than a 4-player game. Mm-hmm. So this was actually kind of new for me too.
It's your first time playing a 4-player?
Well, yeah, actually, with 4 players, it was the first time for me.
So really quick, just out of curiosity, since you played a 2-player, how does it differentiate for anyone who might want to play a 2-player?
With 2-player, there's some of the ports that are blocked, and that's pretty much it. And so when you're colonizing the planet, obviously there's only 2 of you, so the contention for different colonies and stuff isn't as cutthroat. Or
is it a good game still for 2 players?
I always still really loved it with 2 players.
All right.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate it's a weird question to ask, but I know I've always looked for like couple games. Is it a good thing for that? Like, do you play it with your boyfriend or something along those lines?
Yeah, that's who I started.
It would destroy my relationship.
Well,
5 years.
If if you're looking for a good competitive game for a couple, this might actually be a really good choice then.
Yeah.
Okay. So continuing on with our discussion of the end game then. So all right. I wanted to bring it back to Dylan for a moment.
You just like to rub it in.
Loving this.
What's going on?
No, I'm not. I'm not, Dylan. You know that. It
was anyone's game. There was a point
it
there,
really was. And that's actually what I want to bring up is, now at the end game, do you feel like the RNG then, so in the beginning portion, the RNG didn't really like have as much of a factor because there were things you could do. Do you feel like though with the end game, the RNG played more of a factor? And is that good or bad?
I don't think so. I think that if I were to look back at my strategy earlier in the game, I had made some judgment mistakes which had nothing to do with RNG that could have won or lost me the game. And I don't ever feel, so the dice do factor into it, but you can plan around that. You can really prep yourself for almost no matter what the dice give you, especially when you've got so many. I think the real thing is getting as many dice as possible to limit the RNG. So,
so the end game strategy is then by end game, make sure you have X amount of dice, like at least 5 maybe?
Well, and so RNG didn't come into play for me, so maybe, by virtue of having so many dice, I limited the randomness, and so for me it was a failure of strategy as opposed to a failure of randomness.
Well,
right.
I think there's a point where you've got the dice hammered out and you've been accruing resources, and you kind of have to pull the trigger and go, okay, I've got enough resources to make a push for the end game.
Yeah.
And that was my flaw. Is like, I'm like, okay, do I got enough? And I made that push earlier, became the target, and then and like, so you gotta feel out like when is it time to go for the win or go for the throat? And
You're on the razor's edge, and
Yeah, I was terrified when I took the lead over you. And like I was then in the lead of everyone. I'm like, oh, I'm a target now.
Yeah.
And I knew we were close to that end game point. And I'm like, this is a bad place for me to be in.
See, that's where I made my mistake, is because I didn't think of him as a threat up until that point. I thought it was between you and me.
Yeah,
and
me
so
too.
I was sitting there, and I'm like, okay, well, I want him to stay the target, but how do I keep him the target while sabotaging him? And I never just got into that position to really get it back once.
Yeah, it was really down to there's the center dice here, and I know the two of you were fighting over it, and that's what made me go. Yeah, I was like, go for it because you'll lose the game then. But you like turned it around.
Well, yeah, I mean, so my mistake there, I should have blocked you a turn sooner.
With the thing, yeah.
It's all right. It's all right. I'll get you next time.
Yeah.
I think all of our mistakes actually was like there's the technology cards.
And we totally ignored it.
We pretty much ignored them.
Yeah.
I mean, you were really playing the tech game, which
Yes.
is like you had some combos going on there that would have made a Magic the Gathering player kind of.
That's true. Yeah.
But it was. I mean, that there are just so many layers to the decisions and the strategies, because you could go like, I'm gonna get the tech, because the tech is kind of like cheat codes.
The tech
Yeah.
was.
Yeah,
I was
like-
cheating the game, and it was so much fun to do because I was mixing that with some of the abilities you get in the center.
Yeah, you're like using other
I'm
people's
like,
abilities,
yeah.
and you don't even have colonies down yet. So you're just padding your resources, and I'm watching it. I'm just like, how do you stop this? And,
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I did my launch
Yep.
where I just
and then
took
just
off.
like, and then
so.
suddenly just like boom, 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 and it's just like, okay.
Yeah, and the thing is though, is that like the whole time I knew that my strategies, as strong as they may be, like I knew they could be very easily knocked out by just a
Shooting
raider
someone's
move. Or
spaceship.
something.
Shooting some
Yeah,
spaceship.
right. So yeah, I think the end game strategy in this really, you're right. It got really tense, and I loved that.
Yeah.
I came out victorious, and that's all that matters.
In my end game,
This
was just
time-
making sure that Jamon won and that
Yeah.
Dylan didn't win.
Yeah, and honestly, like that's the thing.
It
Is
became
I
a
know,
co-op game.
I know full well that I would have lost
Shenanigans.
that game otherwise.
Yeah.
Because I knew I wasn't going to win, so I'm like, well, I don't really want Dylan to win.
Yeah, she's like, oh,
I
I
decided
don't
that
want
one.
Dylan to win.
I
What
decided
about
at one point.
the guest? You could have.
I know.
I didn't think you were going to make it.
just
It was
weren't a
between
contender.
those two, and
Yeah,
I just I had to make a decision.
So, Eli, is there anything you want to ask us about this game? Now?
Well, I was going to ask you liking role-play type games more.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, you kind of already have answered this, but how you liked this game compared to...
Man, it unlocked the competitive part of me as well as the strategic part.
Yeah.
Because part of what I like about the more role-playing type stuff is the fact that it's more tactical. Like you have like pieces that you're using and they have different abilities, right? And there's a lot to this, even though you're not necessarily moving pieces. There's a lot of that tactical that goes on in this, and that really like. As soon as I realized that, it almost unlocked that brain of mine that does it. I think that's why I really liked it, is because it's not just resource management. It's got a number of different layers to it that are different from other games. So,
And yeah, same for you. Because you like the strategy type games more. Right?
Well, I really like the strategy games. I think that the important thing for this game is that there are so many valid strategies, valid endgame strategies, valid. That's what the hallmark of a good strategy game is. You know, you don't always have to. There's not one right answer. There's not one wrong answer. And like you said, you were doing cheat codes, and I was doing like a base game, if you will, and and they were both.
They both worked, yeah.
They're both equally valid. So.
Yep. Mine only worked because I had help.
I liked the little plays with the actual satellites here, where like, for instance, we sort of monopolized the lunar mine
Yeah.
for a big portion of that game, and so anyone other than us, and that's why I thought it was really between us, is because we kept all the resources
with
there.
the lunar mine,
and
we were
so
just blocking
and
everyone out.
nobody could ever get on there for more than one brick, and so I didn't think he was a contender, and so he's got a million spaceships, but what can he do with it? And,
But that's the thing. Even though we blocked that, there were still other means by which to get resources. So while you can block one, and that's great. That's what makes a good balanced game.
it's good.
And so any other questions on it?
Did anyone have like a favorite play at all?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's start though with Dylan. I don't want to.
Well, you have an obvious favorite play.
Oh, yeah.
No, anyways, but my favorite play, and like I said, it was a mistake. I thought I was winning the game, but in fact I had messed it up, and I had one extra colony. But where I planted 2 colonies, and I was like just a little bit shy of planting a 3rd colony to win the game, and but I felt so good going into that. I was like, oh man, I'm ready to just twist this dagger. They never saw it coming. I felt like I was the puppeteer and you guys. but then my own hubris destroyed me. So, but it was still good. That was I guess the most enjoyable thing for me was the round previous to the last round where I had placed like a bunch of stuff. So.
All right.
My favorite was actually the play that could have been, which was the double laser. Would have been
that
my
would
favorite.
have been.
I know. The whole like, I know you were trying to get her to shoot me down.
But like, I also made my own mistake earlier, where I'm like, oh man, I should have used the ability and then nuked a spaceship, and then I could have set up.
You could have knocked me down early.
Yeah,
so.
like, that's where like on me, it's like I really. Like the theoretical using that technology more, I think that would.
But that's making a good game is if you can come up with those things so that in future you have it.
I think
bad games are ones where you go and you like you said, you just know the strategy every time you're going in. A good game is one where you constantly learn strategies. And,
if you notice other people
mistakes.
have their own strategies and stuff, and you learn the sort of counters to those strategies, that counterplay is really. I play a lot of video games competitively, and I don't see that too often with board games because it is so much that the rules. The person who knows the rules better tends to win almost every time, barring some RNG problems.
Yeah, some people knew the rules.
The rules.
My favorite play, there were two. One was my beautiful mind moment where I can't even remember. It was just like I played all the dice to get myself a colony using all my cheat codes, and it was just this. It was like what? 4
you were
dice
stealing my ability.
And I was like using other people's abilities and doing all that
was
stuff.
like a dance.
And it's like my brain.
Just like...
my brain just locked it all in, and I was like, and so it begins. And it was so like. And that's the cool thing. It's simple enough to learn so you can do that, but enough complexity that I could sort of come up with those.
You could game the
system.
system.
And then my second was the moment where he forgot to put down, there's a P that can block out other people. I waited. I sat there waiting, and I never said a thing until he realized it. I'm like, yes, you could have. So long ago.
Early on, we were all trying to like learn the rules too a little bit, and so we were like helping each other. Oh, like you can do it. But by the time that mid game swing happened, like nobody was talking.
You're like, no, you will all fail.
No one was talking to anybody.
So throwing your question back to you, what was your favorite?
Yeah, actually, one of my favorite. Well, I didn't even make the play. It was you. What you had said earlier, your beautiful mind moment, where you had you built a colony and you used all your abilities.
Yeah, you basically
hopes
and dreams is what you put that colony on.
You had to get like a Excel spreadsheet or something. Watch it unfold.
It was very impressive.
It was fun.
I enjoyed watching that. And then also I liked at the end when you were trying to get me to blow his ship out. and I wouldn't because I wanted to win.
Yeah.
And
so now this might be a tough question to answer, but before we get too far into the I love this game, how much do I love this game? What didn't you like about it? What could have been improved upon, do you think? Or is there really nothing you can find at this point? Because we are just in the first game of this, so.
Yeah.
We'll start with you. It's yours, and you've played it more, so you might know sort of its weaknesses.
Yeah, I guess it's stronger as a 4-player game.
Okay.
Still good as a 2-player game. I guess I don't know. I don't really see any weaknesses. I just like it a lot. I really like this game, so
all right.
I guess I don't.
Well, I mean, it is the game you brought in, so you loving it and not having that's makes sense. Throw in a Dylan.
Okay, I agree with you. I can see. So I've never played it as a 2-player. This is the first time I've actually played it, but you can see that it really to be played how it's meant to be played. You need 4 people to really play it. I think that. That's probably where it's the strongest. Yeah. I really enjoyed it. I think that, with more playthroughs, you could even have... I could change my strategy completely and still have it be a good strategy. So I don't find any weaknesses at this point with this game.
Okay.
Yeah, apart from the 2-player thing, and normally I pride myself on being the critical guy who can really tear something down, and so I consider that twice the amount of a compliment for this game because I can't find those weaknesses. Apart from, I don't think I would have any fun 2-player. Okay. I don't think that the depth of strategy and decision making, those sort of branches of play, I don't think there'd be as many of them with just 2 players because. I know you block off some of the resource pads, but when it gets right down to it, I feel like with 2 people, just the fact that you have this much board to colonize, exactly. it doesn't
There's no
I agree, and maybe it's just because I haven't played it enough. But really, in going through, like as I was playing, I was trying to find those weaknesses. I mean, the cards are all very clear and what you can and cannot do. There's like the rules are it's very straightforward, but has a great complexity. Yeah,
I had to consult the rules twice the entire time playing it.
Yeah.
And that was
minor minutia kind of thing.
Yeah, and that was. I mean, that shows the real strength of a game as a rules lawyer, as someone who's loves that. Like that shows the real strength is that those avenues for like rules lawyering or skewing the rules one way or the other to benefit yourself. That's not really there. It's pretty.
They weren't arbitrary
explicit.
either. It was very clear cut, and it seemed pretty intuitive as well.
It's a very well thought out game. Again, the technology and all those cards just. Whoever designed this game, whatever team did, I'm sorry, but they really thought about this. They've played a lot of games.
Yeah. So where would you put this on your own personal shelf? Would you put it pretty high up or midway or low? Well,
the holy grail for me is still Hero Quest. Space Hulk and Blood Bowls board game type stuff. I would put this right up there with all three of those.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. So now we at the test shop, we actually are creating our own sort of shelf based off of all the games. So we've only played one game so far, which was the Sentinels of the Multiverse. Yep. Mm-hmm. So I think I know the answer, but I'm going to ask anyways. So we'll begin with you, Eli. Yes. Above or below that?
Above.
All right.
Yeah.
Dylan?
Above.
Yeah, above for me as well.
Yeah.
I mean, great game. Definitely. So why don't we throw it out then? Where can we find you, Dylan? We're gonna sort of.
I am Zazu2006 at Twitter.
Twitter.
That's my Twitter handle. So that's how you can contact me. Yep.
Awesome. Eli.
I'm actually in between Twitters right now.
Twitters and Twitter.
Between Twitter. And I don't currently have a Twitter.
We're gonna have to work that next episode. You'll have one.
Yeah.
Promise.
Yes.
Pinky swear it.
Pinky swear.
Ooh. All
right.
Ooh, the gauntlet.
Yeah.
Well, these two are already allies. So.
You know what? We need to do a rematch, and maybe we'll.
And next game.
You owe me.
Next game to this, I'm being your ally.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm totally.
I better win.
No, backstab.
I'm totally backstabbing her. What? No, I didn't say a thing. All right, Andrew, where can we find you?
You can find me in a couple places. Like you said, I stream, so you can check out my stream on at Twitch TV, Mr. MR_Mephisto.
Okay.
Like the cats play.
Do you sing?
Yes, actually.
Okay.
Especially when I do what I call my Scotch playthroughs, or Scotch difficulty, which is when I drink some Scotch and you'll hear me break into song. Or you could follow me on Twitter at Mr. MR again _Meth. Just with the last syllables cut off for simplicity's sake. Or you can check out my website, winsomnia.com.
Okay, great.
Which is like insomnia, but you're using it to win at life.
I love that. All right, cool. Well, I'm, of course, Jamon. You can find me at Jamon Stark on Twitter, and that's really about it for the moment. You can also go on to @Misfit Monsters, which is sort of a group I do where we do mostly co-op games and things of that nature. And that's about it. So, hey, thank you, Andrew, for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. It's another fun game.
Yeah.
I say that because I won.
Yeah.
All right.
I had to come back just to knock him down.
I think so.
It'll happen next episode. I feel like this is the only time I'm ever going to win on this show.
Just putting a target on you.
I am.
And he's rubbing it in.
It's never happening again, and I know it. So I'm
just
just
going to become like every game is just going to become 3v1. Destroy you.
All right. Well, thank you very much once again, guys, and we'll see you on the next Tabletop Test Show, whatever we are. That one.
Tabletop.